CIL 650 presents It's Your Money, an up-close and personal look at your finances. Here's your host, Fred Snyder.
Up in the morning and out to school.
Okay, you hear the music. We are back. And I remind you once again, ladies and gentlemen and listeners out there, this is a live show today. Tomorrow you can hear a replay. But today it's live. And this is your opportunity to talk to myself, to talk to Frida, to talk about your financial issues, your financial problems, the things that you're worried about, the markets, etc., your retirement. Is your money going to live as long as you do? We talk about that and much more. Today we're going to focus on financial calculations. We're going to look at your numbers. And you can call us live if you want to give us some numbers. We can run your numbers. Tell you what your unique set of numbers are. And what I'm talking about here is you want to retire. When? 5 years, 10 years, age 65, age 70, yesterday? You want to retire? You got to figure out when. You got to make a plan. Then you got to say, when I retire, how much income in today's dollars will I need? Let's say it's $50,000 a year. Then you have to do the calculations to adjust that $50,000 for inflation. Because if inflation is 3%, the $50,000 this year has to be 3%, or the $50,000 next year has to be 3% greater than the $50,000 this year. And the year after that, another 3%, and so on. So it compounds upwards. Divide 3% into 72, and that's how long it takes for your cost of living to double. Think about that. You have an income that will support you and look after inflation. Is it inflation adjusted? Now, if you're going to die in a couple of years, you don't need much money. Okay? So again, it's based on life expectancy. So how long do you want your income to live? And you certainly would want your income to live as long as you do. Because there's nothing worse than being retired and broke. Having no money at all. Because then you have to depend on the government, family, and state. And I know the statistics. I've given them out many, many times. 100 people who are age 25 today, started equal at age 25. By the time they end up at 65, 1 is wealthy, 4 are well-to-do, 5 are still working, 36 don't have to worry anymore because they're dead, and there's 54 yet unaccounted for. They're broke, dependent on family and state. Over half are broke. And I see the numbers all the time. These people, some of them, are financially independent at age 65. By the time they end up at age 70, they're financially dependent again because they didn't deal with taxes and inflation. And I don't care if you're rich or poor, you have financial problems. They're just different sets of financial problems. The high net worth people have estate taxes to worry about. They have to worry about their children fighting over their estates when they pass away. They have to worry about the deemed disposition when they pass away. Because when you die, whether you know it or not, the government pretends that you sold everything you own at fair market value. They deduct from that whatever those assets originally cost, and the difference is a taxable, or is a capital gain, half of which is taxable. So, for example, if you have $3 million of assets, not counting your house, and the adjusted cost base of those assets is $1 million, you have a capital gain of $2 million at the moment of death, unless you have a spouse to roll it over to. 50% of that is taxable. That means $1 million is taxable. The tax in British Columbia today on $1 million is 50%. So the tax burden is $500,000 that your executor will have to find to be able to satisfy the government after you pass away. Think about that for a minute. Have you looked after that particular eventuality? Part of an overall financial plan, which is what we talk about, is estate planning. And you have to understand what happens to your estate when you pass away and how your estate is managed. Your testamentary trust has to lay that out extremely well. And while you're living, maybe you have a trust. There's all kinds of things that you need to do to be able to manage your money. I'm generalizing right now. When I'm talking about this, I'll become more specific as we move further into the show. So again, we welcome your calls. It's live. And don't be shy. We won't embarrass anybody. So if you decide to phone in with a question or a comment, maybe you're already a client, maybe you've attended a workshop, maybe you're thinking of becoming a client and you have a question, whatever those issues are, don't hesitate. Make a phone call. So you can get us directly at 604-280-0650. 280-0650. Frida is down at the office right now. If you're shy, reluctant to talk on the air, maybe you want to make an appointment, maybe you want to get a review, a second opinion of your investment plan as well as your financial plan, because you really need both. You want to get a second opinion on those, give Frida a call, 604-737-3512. My direct line down there, if you want to leave a message for me, is 604-737-3501. Now, once again, if you're calling long distance, 800-661-1495 down at the office. If you're calling long distance, you want to talk to me here on the radio, maybe you're over on Vancouver Island, it's 877-280-0650. That's a lot of numbers to remember. And there is a lot of things to remember. Make sure you have a pad and a pencil or a pen. Make some notes. This is financial school. This program is designed to help you enhance your financial IQ, to raise your financial IQ to new levels. I talk to at least 20 people every week. I see 20 profiles of people's financial situations. One of the questions I have to ask them is, what is their financial knowledge? Is it high, moderate, or low? Over 96% of the time, people tell me their financial IQ is low. What happened in the schools? How come the schools didn't teach people about money? How come the schools didn't teach people about how to keep money? About how to save and invest? About how much money you should have in the bank as a cash reserve? And what you should do with the surplus? How to mitigate your taxes, how to deal with inflation, and how to do the numbers. So interestingly, we will be doing some numbers here today on the show, and I welcome you to call because we want to run your numbers. You can log on www.cil650.com and click on Listen Live, and you can see the show right now live. See what we look like, and maybe again you have somebody else in the world. Doesn't matter where they live. They could be in Australia for any matter. As long as they can get on the internet, they can watch this show. Amazing technology when you think about it. Unbelievably amazing what you can do right now. So get on the line, give us a call. We want to talk about you and your money. More importantly, about how to keep it. So again, I'm just going to click on the AM650 website. So if you're looking on air now, there's myself. You can click there and you can listen to the show. It's as simple as that. Okay? So don't hesitate to do that. That's not the one that I want, so bear with me here. My web page is here. So you can go to my web page. Contact numbers and everything is there. Newsletter is there. Everything you want to know about the markets. There's a daily market summary, a weekly market summary, quarterly market summary, latest news and articles, yaddy, yaddy, yaddy. Lots of stuff there. Go there, browse around. You might like it. It's important. Recent radio shows, you can click there. You can listen to last week's show, the show before that, whatever. It's all there. Upcoming seminars, news on our upcoming seminars. We are designing new seminars right now. We're going to have one a month, larger crowds, and the next one that we're going to do will be on how to do financial mathematics. That's the topic. So when we got a minimum of 50 people booked, and there's no cost or obligation to enroll, to reserve a seat, you call Frida. So once again, you can get Frida at 604-737-3512. 604-737-3512. Everybody who calls the show today will get a book on how to prepare a will and a will kit and a CD that's in there. So you call the show, you get that. Once again, no cost, no obligation. So again, it's important to me that we get a lot of calls. I don't want to stand here in front of this microphone and preach. I want to have a conversation with you, our listeners. And I remind you once again, you make a call, there is no cost, there is no obligation of any kind whatsoever. So you want to get a review of your overall financial situation? You want to create a budget? You want to get a will? You want to get some advice regarding a will? Regarding succession for your business? You want to pass your business on to your children? You want to enroll in a seminar? You want to find out how to get better financial education? All you got to do is make a phone call. So once again, 604-280-0650. If you're calling long distance, it's 877-280-0650. Frida's down at the office. For those who are shy or reluctant to talk on the air, area code 604-737-3512. If you just tuned in, I'm certified financial planner Fred Snyder, also registered financial planner representing Scotia McLeod. My mission is to teach people what they need to know to make better financial decisions. So if you don't learn something from this show and listening to this show, I failed in my mission. Okay? So my job is to teach, and I like to teach. I enjoy it. So there's a wealth of knowledge out there. We can teach you how to use your computer, how to use the internet. Just imagine, I have a device sitting here in front of me, and it's a window to the world. I have access to so much information, it boggles the mind. I just got to use a mouse and do a little clicking here and there, and I can find almost anything. And I mean almost anything. And I'd be surprised if I can't find everything. Okay? Almost anything might be an exaggeration. Okay? Or an understatement would put it better. Okay? So there almost isn't anything that I've ever wanted to find that I couldn't find on the internet. And that doesn't mean it's accurate, ladies and gentlemen. So sometimes you got to find something, then you got to research that and say, is that accurate? So you double check. You get, let's just suppose that you want to set up a home-based business. Let's just suppose that you want to do that. Go into Google, type in home-based business. See how many suggestions you get for a home-based business. Go into Google and type how to set up a home-based business. And then you'll find how to do it, what you need to do it. It's endless. It doesn't matter what it is. You want to find out about the guaranteed income supplement that the government pays. I just did a newsletter on that. Look up guaranteed income supplement. You'll find a calculator which will calculate whether you qualify for the guaranteed income supplement. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? You could be wealthy. You could be actually wealthy and still qualify for the guaranteed income supplement. Because it's not based on assets, it's based on income. And it's based on taxable income. Sometimes income isn't even taxable. So there's ways to do things. And it's all about financial planning. So my job as a financial planner is to help people determine where they stand right now. To help them turn their hopes, their plans, their dreams, and their ambitions into goals, meaningful goals. And develop a plan to get them from where they are right now to where they want to go in terms of those particular goals. That's what a financial plan is. It's a blueprint which takes you from where you are right now to where you want to go financially. So get your future going today by making a phone call. So once again, 604-280-0650. Long distance, 877-280-0650. Log on, www.CIL650.com. Frida down at the office at area code 604-737-3512. Long distance, 800-661-1495. Didn't get all those numbers when I gave them out. I'll give them out frequently during the show. And again, if you want to get one number down pat, Frida, 604-737-3512. You can always call her if you want to get the number for the station or whatever. Remind you, I will be in Nanaimo on Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. So if you're over on the island, you want to make an appointment to see myself, give Frida a call. book that appointment, and I'll be staying at the Coast Bastion Hotel, and we can do whatever we talk about here, we can do it over there. So again, I encourage you to call the show. We're talking about your money, more importantly about your money and how to keep it. So let's look at some numbers. So we're going to hear, this here is the perimeters of a situation. And this could be a case study, whatever you want to call it. This is a gentleman who is 68 years of age. He wants to retire in 2 years at age 70. He doesn't know if he's going to make it or not. He's got a portfolio of investments with $400,000 in it. So, again, he's 68, wants to retire at 70, 2 years from now. He wants an income of $50,000 a year, and he's got an annual pension of $30,000. He assumes that he wants to be retired for 25 years. That would be his life expectancy. So that puts him to 95. Life expectancy would be age 95. Inflation over that period of time is assumed to be 3%. It could be 5. It might only be 2. If it's 5, the numbers won't work very well. If it's 2, the numbers will work better. But you have to assume something. He doesn't want to save any money. He can't afford to save any money. And he wants to assume a rate of return of 7%. Now that's gross. That's before tax. We don't know that that's going to happen necessarily. I don't know any product that will guarantee 7% for 25 years. There may be some some short-term products out there that might guarantee 7% for 3 years or something like that. Principal protected notes and stuff like that. But there's nothing that I'm aware of, and I'm pretty sure it doesn't exist. We're going to put in 2% for uncertainty. We're going to say we're going to project 7, but what happens if you get 6? Excuse me, what happens if you get 5, 2%? Or what happens if you get 9? You could get more, okay? So I'm going to do all these numbers for you, and you'll be able to see your numbers, and here they are. Okay. Now, again, if you don't have a computer and you're not logged on, you can't see the graph, but I have a graph here in front of me which shows a person 68 and 69. That's represented by a green line, very short green line, short period of time in here, and then this kind of brown line that curves downwards and runs out at age 94. So based on those numbers, that person's money would last until age 94. Now, if he's still alive at 94, he's broke. But I'm sure if you're 94, the government will look after you. You won't be too ashamed to deal with that. So that's a plan. Now, if he gets 2% less, the money only lasts until age 90, not 94. If he gets 2% more, the money lasts longer than he's going to live, based on life expectancy. Now, ladies and gentlemen and listeners listening to this show right now, you need to know these numbers, okay? The first thing that people walking into my office should say to me, crunch my numbers. If I get 7%, this will be what happened. But what if I'm only getting 3 right now? So if I go back and I adjust these numbers and say that the rate of return is only 3%, what happens? He's broke at age 84. 2% less than that, he's broke at age 83, and so on. But remember, this guy's got $400,000 in cash. If you're sitting out there and you're listening to the show right now and you have a portfolio of $200, $300, $400, $500, maybe $1 million, you need to know, is that money going to do the job? How do I take income from that money and make that money last as long as I do? Because I fail if my money dies before myself. If I live too long, the money will go to my beneficiaries, my children, or my grandchildren, whatever. That's okay. But what happens? What are the numbers? What is your number? How much money do you need, and what rate of return do you need to achieve your financial objectives? I'm going to focus on that today. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't care if you got a lot of money or no money. You have to know what the numbers are. And you really have to know what the numbers are if you have a lot of money. Let's say you have a couple of $1 million. And let's say you're spending $100,000 more than the assets are earning. Then the 100,000 is decreasing your nest egg. Your nest egg is running away from you. Okay? And you can end up broke. So even if you're high net worth, if you're spending too much, you can end up broke. And you know how you end up broke? You don't know the numbers. You have this feeling of well-being. I just looked at my bank account and it shows I got $2 million. Or I looked at my investment portfolio and I got $2 million. I think I'm really well off. Maybe you are. But what if you're getting a lousy rate of return on that money? What happens if you have terrible investments inside your portfolio? What happens if they're risky investments? And what happens if we get a market crash? I read an article the other day on the internet that says there's a market crash coming this year. So are you prepared for that? And what do you do if it happens? I don't agree. I don't think it's going to happen. But you want to know something else? I don't know. And you want to know something else? I don't know anybody else that knows. For sure. Okay? So that's called risk. And how do you mitigate that risk? One of the things you do is diversify, 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 diversify. But do you know how to do that? Do you know how to properly do what they call strategic asset allocation? How much of my money should be invested in fixed income and how much should be in bonds? I actually had a client last week tell me the rates of return on your fixed income funds aren't producing enough of a return. I want you to take that out and put that onto the equity side. You know what that does? That increases the volatility immensely. It increases risk. Wrong decision if they do that. But if they insist on it, then I have to either do it for them or tell them to find another financial advisor. Because it's not the right thing to do. So what is your unique set of numbers? I used to watch a TV commercial I thought was pretty good. Was by Ing Bank, which is now Tangerine, which is now owned by Scotiabank. But this guy's up a tree and he's got a whole bunch of numbers he's nailing to the tree. This guy's walking past and he said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm posting my number." That's how much money he needs to retire. I want to make sure I know it and everybody else knows it. And the guy walked down, he said, "I better get that done myself." So if you're listening to this show right now, maybe you need to get your number. She's been waiting a long time. Let's talk to Helen from Richmond. Helen, welcome to the program.
Hi, Fred. How are you doing?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I don't know if most people know that you changed the day of your show. I just know because I heard it on 650. I read part of Jim Treleving's book From Dragon's Den, which I think is a great show. And he says, make a decision and take action. Two of the things he said.
Well, you have to, because nothing happens unless you do.
Well, that's right, but people just put it off and put it off. And I wonder when you're going on Dragon's Den.
Well, I have a little thing that I invented, and I'm waiting to get a proper prototype of it done. And when I get that done, I will. But I want to test it, but I don't want to get slaughtered if it doesn't work the way I want it to work.
Yeah. Well, you've got a good backer, Scotia McLeod.
Yeah. I don't know that they'll back something that I invent, though.
Well, they back the show, don't they? I see their name.
They back the show, that's correct, yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing I wondered, are your classes starting up soon?
Well, I said earlier that we're changing the format a bit. We're going to do bigger classes. And instead of doing them every week, we're going to do them once a month.
Oh, once a month.
And they're going to be bigger groups of people, minimum 50 people.
Do you know the day yet?
I'm not sure yet. I'll tell you what, I'm prepared to almost immediately do a workshop if I get 50 people booked.
Yeah.
So if I were to do a workshop on crunching the numbers, is what I'm talking about right now. If I were to do a workshop on that, the very topic of the show today, I think that people might be willing to do that, and I think people should. So do you want me to do your numbers?
Well, I wouldn't mind for you to have a look at things, but I don't know when I'm going to get in there. I talked to Frida, and I said, we would like to come to class once it starts up. And so...
I'll tell you what, you don't have to tell me the truth. I'm just going to ask you some numbers. You can if you want. So these answers to these questions don't necessarily have to be accurate. What's your current age?
60s.
You're in your 60s?
Yeah.
I'll say you're 60. How's that?
Okay.
So let's pretend that Helen is 60. What age do you want to retire?
Well, I'm like you. I don't know if I want to retire completely.
What age do you want to be financially independent then?
Sorry?
What age do you want to be financially independent?
Well, the sooner the better.
Okay, and that's 60. So let's say 60. Okay. How much income do you need per year to be able to say that you're financially independent?
Well, that, depends on what I do, but I don't know, 40,000.
Okay, well, I'll put in 40,000. Okay, and you at 60 probably don't have a pension plan at this time, so I'm going to put in 0. Do you have a pension?
Only what I'm making myself.
Okay, I'm going to make that 0. I'm going to say you don't have a pension. I'm going to say, okay, what would you say your life expectancy, if you're 60 today, or let's say you're 60 today, what's your life expectancy?
88.
88? Okay, so that's 28 years of income that we need. I'm going to assume inflation is 3%. I'm going to assume that you've been able to accumulate net working assets apart from your house of $200,000.
Mm-hmm.
So again, if you're listening to the show and you want me to do these numbers for you, be happy to do them. I'm going to assume you don't save any money. I'm going to assume that your rate of return is 7%.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a conservative projection.
Right.
Okay, so the numbers are done. Let's see what they look like. Well, based on what I'm looking at, I'd have to check the numbers a little more accurately, but that says you'd run out of money at age 65. 5 years from now, you'd be broke, based on those numbers.
Well, that doesn't sound good.
No, it isn't. Now, that doesn't mean that's not fixable.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that basically said, and that those numbers may not be your unique set of numbers. We pretended,
Mm-hmm.
okay? But that particular situation, you're starting to draw money from your assets right away.
Yeah.
If I look at the numbers we have here, so you're 60, you have $200,000, you're drawing out 40,000 inflation adjusted. And that's the problem, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So you go negative at age 66. So it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So we'd have to put some more money in to make it work, or we'd have to retire at 65 rather than 60, and things like that.
Yeah.
So what do we have to do to fix the situation? That's what the bottom line is.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that's...
So everybody who is listening to the show right now, you can make a phone call. You can give me your numbers, and like I say, you don't even have to give your real name. You don't want information disclosed over the air. You can make up numbers if you want, but I wanna crunch some numbers. I'm into the number crunching thing here today. Okay? Yeah. I think this is really the bottom line of what I do. In this particular case, this person needs a retirement income of $40,000, and that will have to come 100% from their investments. And they have $200,000 today. So they come in with $200,000 today, and they say, I want to retire. I want $40,000. I want to get a check for $40,000 a year. I'm going to assume I can get 7% rate of return. I want it to be inflation adjusted. This person will run out of money in 5 years.
I wanted to ask you too, Fred, how safe, you always say your favorite fund there. I don't know if you want me to say it or not, but
You mean RBC, Canadian Equity Income Fund?
Right, yeah.
It's suffering a bit right now, and the reason it is 30% energy is in the fund.
Okay. Well,
It's the energy part of the fund that's the problem, and that's the same problem in Russia, same problem in Alberta, same problem in Canada. 30% of the Canadian economy is energy.
Mm-hmm.
So that fund is almost a picture of the Canadian economy.
Yeah.
And the Canadian economy is suffering. Why do you think the government put off the budget?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
they had projected surpluses in terms of their fiscal policy, projected surpluses a few weeks ago, and now projected deficits because of the loss of income, the loss of tax income from energy. It's a problem. It's a big problem.
yeah.
Now, how long do you think the Saudis are going to keep the taps open? At what point in time are the Saudis going to say, okay, let's shut down the supply a little bit?
They're saying it won't be $100 a barrel again, so who knows?
We don't know.
Anyway,
Think about this, if you will, that it costs about $68 to get a barrel of oil out of the ground, out of the tar sands. If you're selling it for 48, you're not going to take the barrel of oil out of the ground.
No.
So now they're laying everybody off.
Yeah.
So Alberta, as a province, is in trouble.
Yeah. Well, I guess I better go, so thank you for your help.
Alan, I can't tell you how much I appreciate your call.
Okay, Fred.
You take care and have a nice weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now. Okay, if you just tuned in, I'm certified financial planner. Fred Snyder, also registered financial planner. We've been talking about your unique set of numbers and how it ties into financial planning in general. We are also talking about financial planning in general. We're taking your calls, and they're live. And if you're shy or reluctant to talk on the air, you want to arrange an appointment to see myself, you do that by calling Frida. She's at the office right now. You can reach her at area code 604-737-3512. Maybe you have an issue or something. Frida's not in the office on Thursday and Fridays anymore because she works Saturday and Sunday because of the radio show. So if you need to contact me about anything, you can do it by way of Frida. So once again, 604-737-3512 or long distance 800-661-1495. I have to go to the break, and when we come back, we're going to talk more about your money and about your numbers. Don't go away.
Fred Snyder.
I want people to call the show that are genuinely interested in increasing their financial IQ so that they can become financially independent sooner and stay financially independent longer.
Fred Snyder.
You don't have a blueprint. Imagine trying to build a house without a blueprint. And how about having a blueprint for your life? What are your lifestyle goals? You need to think about your family life. What are your goals about your family life? What are your lifestyle goals when it comes to health? What are your lifestyle goals when it comes to finances, mental and spiritual? You have to set goals in all those areas, not just finances.
Fred Snyder.
Often we fail because we put too much emphasis on one area and ignore everything else. We work our butts off and we ruin our health. So life is all about balance. So you need a life plan.
Fred Snyder.
Napoleon Hill says this, wrote the book Think and Grow Rich. Anything that you can vividly imagine, ardently desire, and enthusiastically act upon will inevitably come to pass.
Fred Snyder.
My goal, my mission is to help people enhance their financial IQs by teaching them what they need to know to make better financial decisions.
Fred Snyder at his new time, Saturday mornings at 8 on Smooth and Easy, CIL 650.
This is CISL Vancouver. Smooth and easy. CIL 650. You're listening to It's Your Money on CIL 650. Once again, here is Fred Snyder.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. We're live. We're interactive. Remind you, once again, I can't remind you too many times, this is a live show. The show has been switched to Saturday because people complained to me that they couldn't listen on Sunday because of church and things like that. So we changed the time to 8 to 9 on Saturdays, which means I have to get up about 7 to get out here from North Vancouver. But in any event, my mission is to teach people, to enhance your financial IQ, and to have conversations with you, our listeners, about their financial situation. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, maybe you're worried. Maybe you want to talk about the fact that they should be teaching financial stuff in schools, which they don't. They teach us how to earn money, but they don't teach us how to keep it. And I drive that home, or that point home, with a great deal of emotion, because I'm frankly a little disturbed that that is the situation. Maybe the financial institutions don't want us to know more. Okay? I worked for a large financial institution one time, and I said we should be doing courses on financial planning. And they said to me, if we teach them anything, they won't need us. Well, that's great mentality, because I don't follow that philosophy at all. I think the more you know, the more you become interested in something, the more interested you become. It feeds on itself. The more you know, the more you can know. You can't remember anything. Your memory depends on what you already know, because you hook stuff onto what you already know. So the more you know, the more you can remember. These are all issues that need to be discussed. They need to be looked at. You need to look at the major obstacles to financial success. And one of them, major obstacles, is we don't know our numbers. I call it we don't understand the time value of money. But that's one of the reasons. Another is procrastination. Why do we procrastinate? I mean, you're out there right now, you admit, almost everybody I talk to, if I said, sit down here and tell me about your money, like a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Let's talk about your money. Let's talk about how you spend your money. Duh. Haven't got the foggiest idea. How much do you spend on groceries? I ask that question 4 or 5 times every day, and people have a hard time even telling me. I know that Stats Canada says the average adult spends $300 a month. But maybe you don't. Maybe you spend $600 a month. I actually have had people tell me they spend $40 a month. I don't believe that. Okay? But people don't have any idea. And you have to. How much do you spend on the roof over your head? How much does it cost you to live where you live? How much rent? What's the mortgage payment? What's the interest payment? What's the condo fee, the maintenance fees? What are those costs, and how do you define them in terms of your budget? You need to know that, because if you don't know that, your money's managing you. You're not managing your money. Peter Drucker once said, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So if you're not measuring your money and how you're spending it, if you're not tracking it, you can't manage it. It's managing you. So you wonder why you're overdrawn at the bank all the time, why your credit cards are maxed out, or your lines of credit are maxed out, and you're broke on payday. You're wondering about all these things, and you don't have a budget. Well, you should have one. So why don't you have one? You're procrastinating. Somehow it's going to be okay tomorrow. It hasn't been okay in the past, but somehow by magic, it's going to change. It isn't going to change. I have news for you. It won't change until you become more proactive and you do something about it. That's what you have to do. You have to make some decisions. Maybe the first decision is to make a phone call. So get your future going today by making that phone call. Are you scared to make that phone call? Are you scared to confront your finances and take a close, hard look at them? Maybe you are. The best test of how well you're doing with your finances is this. How much money do you have in your bank account? Because if you spend less than you earn, guess what happens? The money piles up in your bank account. And if you got more than enough to pay 6 months of living expenses in your bank account, you got too much. So what do you do with the surplus? How do you save and invest? Maybe the governments of the world need a lesson on that particular topic. I have the World Debt Clock up here. It's on Google if you want to look it up. It's under the Economist World Debt Clock. You can search that, and you can see what any country in the world owes. And the countries that are deeply in debt are the red ones. And if you just hover over it with the mouse, for example, over Canada you got the numbers, over the United States you got the numbers, you can see what they are. And again, the Canadian government was projecting a surplus until the energy crisis. and now they're projecting a deficit again, which means they're spending more than they earn in taxes. So every time you send $1 to Ottawa, how much of that dollar is used to pay interest on the national debt? That's a really tough question. I got Leonard from Port Moody on the line. Leonard, welcome to the program.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Leonard. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. I had a question for you.
Yes.
I have some funds locked in RIF.
Yes.
That's where I contribute half and the employer contributes half.
Mm-hmm.
And could I redeem that when I'm 65?
You can't unless there's hardship. There's some new rules they put out that if you have some kind of hardship, you can take an income from it. The term L stands for locked in, which means the terms of the pension plan have to be maintained by the custodian of the RRSP. So if the pension plan says you can only take income out at such and such an age, then they have to follow that. And there's a minimum that you can take out and a maximum. But it's income. You can't redeem the whole thing if it's locked in, unless there's hardship.
So there's no way that I can unlock it?
Well, it could be, but what you need to do is sit down and talk to somebody like myself. We have to take a close look at that and look at your whole set of circumstances.
Okay.
This, again, is a darn good reason for giving Frida a call and booking an appointment. Come in for a review, and again, I'll give you the number right now. You can reach Frida at 604-737-3512. I had an interesting case last week. I have a client that needs $30,000 of income per year. He's got 2 locked-in plans, and he's got a spousal RRSP that's not locked in. He's only got $39,000 in the spousal RRSP, and the other 2 accounts are fairly substantial. But if he takes the maximum amount of money that he can take from the 2 locked-in plans, then he's going to have to take a very substantial amount of money out of the smaller RRSP to get the whole thing up to the $3,000. He'll run out of money in terms of the smaller RRSP in a few years. He's got a real problem on this one. So you gotta watch it all, because it's almost too late to do anything. So he's decided to take the $3,000, and even though he will deplete the RRSP that's not locked in a couple of years.
Okay, sir.
That's a problem situation. And situations like that need to be identified before it comes up like this. Okay?
Okay, I'll call your office.
Okay, Leonard. I can't tell you how much I appreciate your call. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.
You too. Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, if you've just tuned in, I'm certified financial planner Fred Snyder. We're talking about your money. We're talking about your money and how to keep it. And we're kind of focusing on the big picture, but we want to talk a little bit more about your unique set of numbers. What is your number? This web page here that I'm looking at is a really good one, because you can look at what the situation was year after year along the bottom here, and you can see what every country in the world owes, and you can compare countries. Put yourself in the shoes of Russia right now. The ruble has fallen through the floor. The country is virtually bankrupt because their main commodity, if you want to call it that, is oil. That's their whole economy is oil, period. Canada's 30%. Russia's a lot more than that. They're in trouble. You got ISIS that's selling oil for $40 a barrel right now. You got the U.S., which is energy independent right now. They don't need any oil. And you got the Saudis that are keeping the taps open to increase the supply because they want to keep the price down. So you don't really need to be too much of a detective to figure out what all the motives are behind all this stuff, okay? But sooner or later, it's like they're playing chicken with the price of oil, okay? Sooner or later, somebody's got to blink. And sooner or later, I think the Saudis are going to have to turn the taps down and decrease the supply, and the price is going to go back up again. But until that happens, the whole world's going to hurt. There'll be an awful lot of uncertainty, and there'll be incredible volatility in the markets. And that's exactly what's going on. But if you put things in proper light, the Dow Jones Industrial Average broke 18,000 not very long ago, and it's only around 17,500 right now. It's only down 500 points. That's not too severe yet. It may get worse. It may get better. Yesterday's numbers were pretty good. That was encouraging. So again, you must have some worries about money. You must be thinking to yourself, I'm retired. How long is my money going to last? How do I select the best investments? What's the process for selecting those investments? Do I invest directly into stocks, or do I manage money by investing in mutual funds? Do I put my money in GLWB products, which stands for Guaranteed Lifetime Withdrawal Benefit plans? Do I invest in that particular product? The answers to these questions aren't easy. They're difficult. And you need somebody that has a good knowledge of what they're talking about to be able to give you the best suggestions, to be able to define for you your options, give you a list of options. Number one, number two, number three, number four, which option is best for me? That's what you need to be able to do. You need to be able to talk to a financial advisor that you can communicate with, that doesn't confuse you with a whole bunch of unnecessary details, that doesn't talk too much about alpha and beta and all the statistical measurements which are used to analyze investment funds and stuff like that. 200-day moving averages and the charts, all this kind of stuff. It's too technical. It's too complicated. What people really need to know is this: how much did I invest? How much did I make? And is that enough? That's the bottom line, okay? The regulators require that we give out more information. Then I'm oversimplifying, but really that's what people really want to know. So get on the line. Talk to us. Talk to us about your money, and we'll tell you how to keep more of it. 604-280-0650. That's the number to call. If you're calling long distance, 1-877-280-0650. If you want to log on, no matter where you are in the world, it's www.CIL650.com. And if you're shy or reluctant to talk on the air, you can talk to Frida. She's down at the office right now, booking appointments. If you want to talk to her to make an appointment, you can reach Frida right now. Area code 604-737-3512. Long distance 800-661-1495. Remind you very strongly right now, there is no cost or obligation. It is free. Sounds cheap when you say free. It's not really cheap. It has a lot of worth. But you need a financial plan. You need a second opinion on your investment portfolio. You need to check your portfolio to make sure that its expected rate of return is sufficient, that the risk is within your tolerance zones. Is it too risky? How volatile is it? If the market goes down 20%, how much will my portfolio decline? At the risk of being technical, there's a term called beta that gives you that number, okay? So these are all issues that need to be addressed, and if you're not addressing them, I think you're making a mistake. I think you're afraid. The acronym for FEAR, F-E-A-R, false evidence appearing real. So the opposite is knowledge. You want to be less fearful. Arm yourself with knowledge. Listen to this show, get that knowledge. Get a financial plan, get that knowledge. Read books, get that knowledge. So again, everybody who calls the show, including Helen that already did, gets a will kit and a great book with a CD on how to prepare your own will. So once again, I emphasize the fact that from an estate planning point of view, if you have a business, small business, whatever, at the moment of death, you're deemed to have sold your business at fair market value. Unless you have a living spouse that it can be rolled over to, you have a tax problem. How do you avoid that issue and the taxes that happened as a result of that? Got to get on top of that one. Let's talk to Peter from Vancouver Island. Peter, welcome to the program. Hi, Peter. Not there? Peter, I don't know what happened. You get cut off. Call back. Be happy to take your call. Okay, so if you just tuned in, I'm certified financial planner Fred Schneider. We have about 10 minutes before we have to go. Remind you once again, the show is live. The show runs from 8 to 9 o'clock every Saturday morning. And tomorrow morning from 10 to 11, there's a replay of a past show. Maybe even this one. I don't know. The station picks those at random. But again, our mission, our purpose is to teach you what you need to know to make better financial decisions and become financially independent sooner and stay financially independent longer. So it's not just one thing to get there, it's another thing to stay there. Because statistics tell us that half the people who are financially independent at age 65 are financially dependent again by age 70 because they didn't deal with taxes and inflation. Okay, I got Peter back right now. Peter, thanks for calling.
Yeah, hi, Fred.
Hi, Peter.
Question. It's sort of putting the thing a little backwards. Let's talk about somebody who has a net worth, excluding their home, of $1 million.
Yes.
They're 70 years old. We're going to take a guess and say they're going to live to 95.
Yes.
How much can they spend per month?
Well, that's a fairly easy calculation, but it really depends on the rate of return.
Yeah, it's
and
right.
it depends on inflation.
Yes.
So, for example, let's suppose we take $1 million, and I'm just pretending right now, and you can invest $1 million at 10%. You can't, but let's pretend you can.
Well, let's use realistic numbers.
I know the numbers that I'm about to use off by heart. You're gonna, I may not know the numbers off by heart. I guess I can punch that into my calculator here. Sure, that'll work. Just bear with me here for a minute. Okay, so here we go.
You know what I'm suggesting, Fred, is that instead of saying somebody needs $40,000 a month, pardon me, $4,000 a month to live on, or $40,000 a year, something like that. Let's be realistic and say, well, this is what you actually can spend.
Well, sure. Okay, so, we have to maybe do the calculation a few times. So how old is this person? 70?
We're saying.
Okay, so I got my calculator up here, and this will do that job. So you're 70, and you want to retire at 70. You're going to be retired at the same age.
Yeah.
Okay, and you have $1 million in investments or savings or whatever. Okay, so that is $1 million. And the rate of return, I'm going to assume, what rate of return do you want me to assume?
I don't know, 4
7?
or 5?
Let's choose 5. Let's say the rate of return is 5% before and after retirement. We use 2% for the cone of uncertainty. We got $1 million, 3% inflation adjusted. And this person, what's their life expectancy?
We're going 25 years.
Okay, so 25 years. Okay, so I got that in. So I got the numbers, I think.
Right.
Oh,
Now,
okay,
obviously,
so the annual income desired is I need to figure that out. We got to guess at this one because my calculator will not tell me the most that you can have, the way it's set up. So let's experiment
I'm
with
the
it.
other way around, Fred.
How much income would you want?
Instead of saying how much annual income is required, I'm saying how much annual income is there to be spent?
This calculator will not do that right now, and I don't have the airtime to look for one to do it.
There was a thought.
So let's say it's $100,000. Let's say from the million you take $100,000. Let's see if it works. And then if it doesn't, we can try something else. We can try a different number.
Okay.
So we got 100,000. So I got everything in. Here we go. Okay, if you're 70, that money will last until you're 80. If you draw out 100,000.
Last till what?
until age 80.
Huh.
Now, again, if I go back, play around with the numbers a bit, input. Let's say you want the money to last longer. You don't take 100 out. You take out 90. The money will last until age 82. That's an inflation-adjusted number of 80,000. Remember that. That goes up by 3% every year.
Yeah.
If I decrease the inflation, if I don't inflation adjust it, it will last longer.
Yeah, no, but you have to put inflation in.
I agree. And I haven't counted taxes either.
No.
Okay. This is a tough problem. This person following that pattern would be broke at age 80. Now, if they get 2% greater than 7, the money will last until age 83. If they get 2% less, it'll last until 81.
Yeah.
Okay? And all I'm saying, Peter, is that we need to know these numbers, but we haven't got any hope at all. If I go back and I say, okay, let's go back. I don't want there. And I go back and I say, okay, let's suppose we get a little more optimistic on rate of return. I put in 6% instead of 5%. And let's say that on the income of 90,000, we make it 80,000. And then we do the calculations. Now the money will last until age 85.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm talking, this is interest and principal, both.
Yes.
It's a blended payment of both.
Yeah.
So again, maybe that number itself is too high. So if I go back, let's just try one more number. Let's say we make this 80,000, 60,000.
No, yeah, 60 or 50.
Let's try 60. I think 60 will work better. Okay, so we've tried 60. Well, the money lasts until age 93 now.
Now we're talking cents.
And you see, this was a perfect case study, you and me, right here.
Yeah.
Because this is the message I'm trying to get across to people.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And the reason to bring this up is that it's nice to tell people that their dream isn't going to work. They're going to be broke by the time they're 75 or 82 or whatever the number is.
Gotcha.
But I'm thinking, let's just turn this around backwards and say, you can draw out $4,000 a month or whatever with what you've got, and it will last. Now, that's going to have to be adjusted for
inflation
annually.
Yeah. No problem.
Yeah.
But again, this here was perfect because it makes the point and it worked. I have other spreadsheets and software I can use, but it would take me a long time to find them on my computer.
Yeah. Well, I just thought that would be an interesting calculation for you.
And maybe next week you give us a call and we'll play around with this one.
Well, I will, but it's going to be aloha time next week.
Okay. Well, enjoy yourself. Peter, thanks for calling. Can't tell you how much I appreciate your call.
Right on, Fred. Nice to talk to you. Bye now.
And enjoy the weekend. Take care. Okay, I got to go. We're out of time. So same time, same station next week. Thanks for calling. Appreciate all your calls. And you can get Frida down at the office right now. Area code 604-737-3512. Bye for now.
If you'd like Fred to review your portfolio, call his office right now at 604-737-3512. That's 604-737-3512.